talking about the belief in the incarnation of the Spirit in everyone, and that all people are incarnations of that one Spirit. Across the Centers for Spiritual Living, they have come together to have topics of conversation. And so the outline for this talk was suggested by Dr. Reverend Petra Wells, who is the minister of the Dallas Center for Spiritual Living. So she says, and we are talking about how mind is individualized but never individual. Mind is individualized but never individual. This mind, which is universal, will never be any less than universal. It will never be individual, but it will be individualized. So listen to the difference of that. Individualized. We are each part of the whole, and we show up in an individualized way. It's like the ocean will never be a wave by itself. It will be the ocean as a wave. And this is all it will be. Caught up as a wave, but still the ocean. Perhaps that is the concept Jesus had when he said that God delivered everything to him, but he could do nothing except God as him, in him, doeth the work. So it's as though you are the ocean, but not all of the ocean. You are the wave, but not all of the waves. You are the individualized expression of the divine, that one whole essence. And so you have a certain level of stewardship to express that divinity that is you in the highest and richest way possible. Within this infinite mind, each individual exists, not as a separate, but as a separate, not as separated, but as a separate entity. So we can't separate ourselves from the divine. We are part of the whole. We are that is. Ernest Holmes, in his Beverly Hills lectures, said, "Our being is merely a point where the infinite being, like a wave of the ocean, comes into self-expression and self-experience, no doubt backed by a cosmic urge of necessity." When you think that there is something scratching at the back of your mind, something that's calling you to move forward, to take action, to be more than you can be, you can rest assured that it is that cosmic urge of necessity pulling you forward. I always think of it as people say to me, would you ever have thought you would be a minister? Well, no. Are you kidding? And it feels as if I'm being vacuumed forward, sucked forward. There is no going back and there's no resisting it. It is absolutely an urge of necessity. And each one of us has that call forth, that call to be an expression of the divine. Unity and uniformity are not the same thing. Unity and uniformity are not the same thing. No two blades of grass are alike. What does it mean? It means that incarnated within each one of us is not only a divine spark, not only an incarnation of the living spirit of the cosmos, but a unique presentation of the cosmic whole. A unique presentation of the cosmic whole. Chief Seattle said, "All things are bound together. All things connect. Whatever happens to the earth happens to the children of the earth. Man did not weave the web of life. He is merely a strand of it. Whatever he does to the web, he does to himself. Whatever he does to the web, he does to himself. We are intricately interactive and dependent on each other. What I do to the web, I do to myself. And that is the same for each one of us. In the Science of Mind book, Ernest quoted Jesus as saying, "Know ye not that you are the temple of the living God? This power within you is the same that holds the planets in space." This power within you is the same that holds this planet in space. You can pretend that you don't matter. You can act like you are just a small, insignificant mosquito in the brow of God, cleaning it up for you. But you can't be insignificant. You're as vital and as important as gravity. If you were not here, if you weren't here, the universe would implode. You must be present for the universe to be whole, perfect, and complete. It cannot be otherwise. Ernest continues, individuality means self-choice, volition, conscious mind, personified spirit, complete freedom, and a power to back up that freedom. And a power to back up that freedom. There could not be a mechanical or unspontaneous individuality. There cannot be mechanical or unspontaneous individuality. Individuality must be created in the image of perfection and let alone to make this stupendous discovery for itself. It emerges from the universal. So the Science of Mind book, in its glossary, defines individuality this way. The real idea of man as distinguished from the outer personality. Let me read that again. The real idea of man as distinguished from the outer personality. Each one is a separate entity in mind, and no two are alike. Each is an individualized center of God consciousness. We are born with our individuality. Our personality is the use we make of our divine individuality. Our personality is the use that we make for our divine individuality. We do believe in religious science that there is an infinite self-knowing, which we call the Spirit. Our Father which art in heaven, God, the first cause, or this thing called life. We believe that this is the personal, warm, colorful, and responsive to that which communicates with it, and that each of us is an individualized center in it. So that means that even though the universe is massive, there is some element of it which is responsive and warm and colorful. So when you pray, there is some essence of that universal whole that responds to you on a personal basis. And it's not for us to figure out how the prayers are to be answered. We don't have to worry about that, because that divine universal intelligence is so much more creative and clever and miraculous than we could ever be. So we talk about saying a prayer and not outlining how we expect it to come out, because when we outline it, then we are limiting that creative essence of the divine, which is responsive, which is colorful and warm. Amazing, miraculous things can happen if we just put our trust and our faith in that whole essence that we call God, the universe, whatever language you want to use. And to limit it by the language is very short-sighted. Call it whatever you want. It doesn't care. It's going to respond to you to the level and to the degree that you have an expectation of its response. God gives you exactly what you expect. So if you expect just a little thimble of goodness, that's exactly what you're going to get. But if you expect a whole truckload full of goodness, or a whole world full of goodness, that's what you're going to get. It responds to you at the level of your expectation. God is one, not two. In this one, we're included, not excluded. For we are individualized sinners in the consciousness of God. Since there is only one final person, God. Since there is only one final person, and that is God, we all live as personalities in that one person. This means that our personality is the use that we're making of our divine individuality. Did you electrocute yourself?
Darn near.
Okay. Hallelujah. Can I have a hallelujah? Okay, Denise.
Yeah.
Okay. So God is we all live as personalities in that one person. That means that our personality is the use that we're making of the divine individuality that's been given us, and the use that we're making of our creative nature. In his book, Thoughts Are Things, Ernest said, life has set the stamp of individuality on you. You are different from any other person who ever lived. You're different from any other person who ever lived. You're an individualized center of the consciousness of God. You are an individualized activity in the action of God. And he continues, you live because life lives in you. You live because life lives in you. You move because there is a universal energy flowing through you. You think because there's an infinite intelligence thinking through you. You exist because the divine spirit has sought to individualize itself in and as you. This is why you are called the temple of the living God. There is a divine spark at the center of your being, but you need to recognize this, believe it, and act upon your belief. That is so awesome that we sort of just let it roll off our shoulders without giving it the kind of attention that it needs, the kind of amazing possibilities that we have in our lives to live from that personality place. We are limitless as human beings. We're limitless as individuals. It cannot be otherwise. In Science of Mind magazine in April 1971, Ernest said, every man is an individualized portion of creative life. The life we express on this plane is but a projection of the invisible. The process never shows its face. But we know that behind this life is the thinker, the knower, the doer, that which is eternal, that which alone exists. We live because God lives in us. Not I, but the Father dwells in me. He doeth the work. Our whole endeavor is to personalize the impersonal. That is, to individualize the creative spirit. While we cannot think of God as an infinite person, that is, as a being with any limitations whatsoever, we should think of the creative spirit as that infinite being in whom all personality is rooted. Thus, each is continuously individualizing God, and thus, also, each is individually using the law of cause and effect. Individually using the law of cause and effect. What I think is what I get. What I do is what comes back to me. Each one of us is using the law of cause and effect. So I like to think of a dandelion. So you think about a dandelion and you notice that those powerful essence of the divine spirit is going to come up in the craggiest of places. Its absolute thrust for life is an amazing quality. I used to drive back and forth from Roswell, New Mexico to Albuquerque across a lava bed that went on for hundreds and hundreds of miles. Black lava. Hard from, distant from everything. And yet, there would be just these little dandelions that had blown in from God only knows where, that had taken root, that had decided to thrive. And so a dandelion is part of the whole. And then it has its flower, it has its leaves, which are wholesome and people eat them. And then it turns to a thistle. The seeds of greatness. And it can blow from here to Kalamazoo and take root. And each one of those plants are different. They're not necessarily exact replications of the original plant. They have their own character and their own personality, their own individuality. And each one of us has certainly that same level of tenacity, that same level of expression. If you can't be as strong as a dandelion, then I'm really sorry. So I want to share a near-death experience with you. This is from a story by Mellon Thomas Benedict. It's not a story, it's a true declaration of his near-death experience. And he was dead for over an hour and a half. That's the closest calculation that they can come up with. So, it says, in 1982, I died from terminal cancer. My condition was non-operable. I chose not to have chemotherapy. I was given 6 to 8 months to live. Before this time, I had become increasingly despondent over the nuclear crisis, the ecology crisis, and so forth. I came to believe that nature had made a mistake, that we were probably a cancerous organism on the planet, and that is what eventually killed me. That's what he believed. Before my near-death experience, I tried all sorts of alternative healing methods. None helped. So I determined that this was between me and God. I had never really considered God. Neither was I into any kind of spirituality, but my approaching death sent me on a quest for more information about spirituality and alternative healing. I read various religious and philosophical books. They gave hope that there was something on the other side. I had no medical insurance, so my life savings went overnight on tests. Unwilling to drag my family into this, I determined to handle this myself. I ended up in hospice care and was blessed with an angel for my hospice caretaker, Anne. She stayed with me through all that was to follow. I woke up about 4:30 a.m. and I knew that this was it. I was going to die. I called a few friends and said goodbye. I woke up Anne and made her promise that my death body would remain undisturbed for 6 hours, since I had read that all kinds of interesting things happen when you die. I went back to sleep. The next thing I remember, I was fully aware and standing up. Yet my body was lying in the bed. I seemed to be surrounded by darkness, yet I could see every room in the house and the roof and even under the house. A light shone. I turned toward it and was aware of its similarity to what others have described in near-death experiences. It was magnificent and tangible, alluring. I wanted to go towards that light like I might want to go to my ideal mother's or father's arms. As I moved toward the light, I knew that if I went into the light, I would be dead. So I said, wait, please, wait. I would like to talk to you before I go. The entire experience halted. I discovered that I was in control of the experience. My request was honored. I had conversations with the light. That's the best way I can describe it. The light changed into different figures, like Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, archetype images and signs. I asked in a kind of telepathy, what is going on here? The information transmitted was that our belief shaped the kind of feedback we receive. If you were a Buddhist or a Catholic or a fundamentalist, you get a feedback loop of your own images. I became aware of a higher self matrix, a conduit to the source. We all have a higher self, or an oversoul part of our being, a conduit. All higher selves are connected as one being. All humans are connected as one being. That's what he discovered in his near-death experience, that all higher selves are connected as one being, and all humans are connected as one being. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. It was like all the love you've ever wanted, and it was the kind of love that cures, heals, regenerates. I was ready to go to that light, and I was ready to go at that time. I said, I'm ready, take me. Then the light turned into the most beautiful thing that I have ever seen, a mandala of human souls. I saw that we are the most beautiful creations, elegant, exotic, everything. A mandala of human souls, and that is the truth for us. I just can't say enough about how it changed my opinion of human beings in an instant. I said, oh God, I didn't realize. I was astonished to find there was no evil in any soul. People may do terrible things out of ignorance and lack, but no soul is evil. What all people see, what sustains them is love. The light told me what distorts people is a lack of love. And I want to remind you that love is an inside job. You don't have to go outside yourself to find love. It's an inside job. The revelations went on and on. I asked, does this mean that humankind will be saved? Like a trumpet blast with a shower of spiraling lights, the light spoke, saying, you save, redeem, and heal yourself. You always have and always will. You were created with the power to do so from beyond the beginning of the world. And in that instant, I realized that we have already been saved. I thank the light of God with all of my heart. The best thing I could come up with was, oh, dear God, dear universe, dear great self, I love my life. The light seemed to breathe in me and even more deeply absorbing me. I entered into another realm more profound than the last and was aware of an enormous stream of light, vast and full, deep. I asked what it was. The light answered, this is the river of life. Drink of this mana water in your hearts, into your heart's content. I drank deeply in ecstasy. Suddenly, I seemed to be rocketing away from the planet on this stream of life. I saw the Earth fly away, the solar system whizzed by and disappeared. I flew through the center of the galaxy, absorbing more knowledge as I went. I learned that this galaxy and the entire universe is bursting with many different varieties of life. I I saw many worlds. We are not alone in this universe. It seemed as if all of the creations of the universe soared past me and vanished in a speck. Then a second light appeared. As I passed into the second light, I could perceive forever, beyond infinity. I was in the void, pre-creation, the beginning of time, the first world or vibration. I rested in the eye of creation, and it seemed that I touched the face of God. It was not a religious feeling. I was simply at one with absolute life and consciousness. I rode the stream directly into the center of the light. I felt embraced by the light as it took me within its breath again, and the truth was obvious that there is no death. There is nothing is born and nothing dies, that we are immortal beings, part of a natural living system that recycles itself endlessly. And then he flipped back into his body, and he noticed a light, and he got out of bed to follow the light, and he fell on his noggin. And Anne rushed in, believing that he was dead, and come to find out, he was apparently not, or he had died and he came back to life because she had checked all of his vital signs, and he was, according to her, dead. He said it would take me years to assimilate the void experience. It was less than nothing. You get greater than anything. Creation is God exploring God's self through every way imaginable. Creation is God exploring God's self through every expression imaginable, through every piece of hair on your head, through every leaf on every tree, through every atom. God is exploring God's self. I saw everything as the self of all. God is here. That's what it's all about. Everything is made of light. Everything is alive. And each and every one of us, to be human part of this experience, is awesome and magnificent. Each and every one of us, no matter where we are, screwed up or not, is a blessing to the planet right where we are. And then he said, about 3 months later, a friend of his suggested that he go get tested for cancer. So he said, I got the scans and so forth. I felt healthy. I still remember the doctor at the clinic looking at the before and after scans. He said, I can find no sign of cancer now. A miracle, I asked him, a miracle? No, the doctor answered, these things happen. Spontaneous remission. He seemed unimpressed, but I was impressed. I knew it was a miracle. You are a miracle. Each one of us are miracles. So as Ernest says, the highest God and the innermost God are one God. Take very seriously, you are made in the image and likeness of God. As Jesus stated, when you see me, you see the Father. When you look at any person, you see the divine made manifest. When you look in the mirror, you see the divine made manifest. When I look at you, I see the divine made manifest. Namaste. Namaste. Some of it like the practitioners stand and join with me as we say our prayer. So I just allow myself to breathe in the essence of that is the breath of life, the breath that is the divine, knowing fully that each one of us is an expression of that divine. We are the individualized expression of that one that I call God. I allow myself to be aware of that. I allow myself to make a dedication to be a steward of that part of the divine essence that I am. To live my life as fully and richly as possible. To be the best individualized expression of the divine that I can be. I breathe in the essence of the universe. I allow myself to be vitalized, to be invigorated, to be touched by that is my deepest awareness at the core of my being, knowing that I am that. I allow peace. I allow forgiveness of myself and others. I allow joy. And I celebrate it all. I feel the expansion of that force that I call the divine, limitlessly moving through me, around me. I hold my heart open in joy. I hold my heart open in peace and celebration. I know it is good. And I claim it for each one of us. And I invite you to own that for yourself by joining me in saying, and so it is.